Thank you for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. This is Mid-State Money Talk with Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services. I'm your host, Mike Spangle. Gentlemen, it is great to see you. I'll start with you, Joe. What's on your mind? What do we need to talk about?
So today we want to talk about how the retirement is not the same retirement as your parents or grandparents.
Oh, right. A lot different. We don't quite have the pension plans that maybe a lot of our grandparents used to have. We're living longer, and so let's talk about some of those button points, what exactly we can do about it. Today's modern retiree. What do you need to have in mind for living a much longer and healthier, hopefully, retirement? First of all, we got to make sure that we have the funds for it. But let me even start with this. You see folks coming into your office all of the time. What's kind of an age range of folks who are coming in? What are on people's minds when they come into your office, Joe?
Yeah, certainly. So age range from 50 to 67, 69, 70. There's a pretty big age range. So, and that kind of, we got to be a little flexible as to where we're at in the planning process. Whether they're pre-retirement, in retirement, are we kind of doing a little bit of catch up, or do we have some time to really prepare for those goals and dreams?
Kevin, the same for you. 50-year-olds coming in. What is usually on their mind? Is it, can I retire as soon as possible? Can I get out of the workforce? Or how long do I have to work? Or have I saved enough? What's on their minds?
I think they have the same what's on their mind as someone coming into 65. Do I have enough money to last? Running out of money is still the biggest concern for people as they look towards retirement.
Yeah.
And there is no magic number. It's based on a lot of factors, which we go through in our planning process. And but yeah, I mean, people are retiring without pensions now. My grandparents, my parents retired, graduated into retirement with pensions. And of course you add Social Security to that, and your income's pretty well set, but now there is no pension. And now you have a 401k, and now you're your self-owned money manager, and you have to have all that education and background and expertise in managing your own 401k.
Right. That shift that happened about 4.5 decades ago, the late 1970s, it was, hey, American worker, we want you to save instead of us having to save for you.
Yep.
And for 4.5 decades, they had to learn to be money managers. Now, a lot of these 401ks started a long time ago with mutual funds. And this actually created one of the largest bull runs in American history, the 80s, as people were pouring their own money into mutual funds. I mean, back in the 70s or 60s, if you wanted to buy a stock, you had to call a stock broker.
Right.
There weren't, the mutual funds were available, but you didn't really know how to get them. So if you look back at somebody who's been saving for 40 years, are their portfolios dynamic? What kind of funds did they choose?
Absolutely. And why did they choose them, right? So, we see this all the time where it says, come in and say, well, this is what my friend was doing, this is what my coworker was doing, this is what they preset me in. I've got a target date fund that's just set for my retirement. Typically, those accounts have not been revisited for quite a while, and that's something that we addressed right up front to make sure that we are positioned in the time frame that we're supposed to be in with our goals, our risk tolerances. All of these small elements create the sweet spot as to where that should be. Very rarely is that when they walk in the door.
One of the things
we do workshops on a monthly basis, and we have some people that come that are in their early 50s, and they have, okay, I'm not going to retire for another 15, 17 years. And so I don't think I need to come in and see you, and that's a mistake. You need to come in and see us because you need to revisit those 401ks, those target funds, see what you're invested in, and see if that's going to last you and get the return you want and you need to be able to have a nice retirement.
Right. You guys see a lot of the companies that are around the area here. We call it Mid-State Money Talk on purpose. How do you feel about the 401k plans that you see? You see lots of different companies, as we've said before. There's that chocolate company that is very nearby, but all kinds of different organizations. Do they have decent offerings? Do they have a variety of offerings in there from what you guys see?
Some of them do, but a lot of them, they don't know what they don't know. The actual, consumer, the employee doesn't know what they don't know. So a lot of times when you sign up, when you start a company and you get a 401k, they put you right into a target fund. If you're, going to retire in 2030 because that's your, age 65 or 66 or 67, whatever that might be, then that's your target fund, and that's pretty much what they stay in because they don't know any better. And so we help them to see, okay, is there any other options? And a lot of times there are a lot of other good options inside the 401k. Sometimes there's not.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But it helps to sit with an advisor and be able to look at those and see those options and see what's the best choice for me now and going forward. And revisit that yearly.
Yeah, those 401ks, they're based on a menu. You know, they're not open to every investment in the whole wide
Right.
world. They've got a selection in which they have to choose from. And so, you know, sometimes even under that limited selection, it's just easier to say target fund date and set it and forget it, right? Well, your goals are going to change. Your retirement date might change. You might want to retire early or late. You might move to another company, you know? So all of these things, you might end up walking into our office, and we see this a lot, where we got 3, 4 different retirement funds, 403Bs, 401ks. And we got a lot of hospitals around the mid-state as well. We see people coming in from those organizations as well. So, you know, they could be in some fixed accounts, they could be in annuity accounts within these, they can be in mutual funds. It's across the board. So, you know, we see kind of all of the different options.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're well versed in all of them. Kevin, I know this is one of the reasons why I like you. You and I think a lot alike, especially on those target date funds. They do have their purpose, but there are extreme limitations to them as well. And I think oftentimes, as you said, the easy button, Joe. A lot of folks say, oh, well, I think I might retire around 2030, so I'll go ahead and I'll pick that fund. But what happens if you work another couple of years? Well, what happens if actually you want to work another 3 years? You've already started to reduce your risk. Well, then what? Do you just start then choosing other funds, or do you choose then another target date fund? In fact, there was a study done that said over 50% of Americans don't even know exactly what a target date fund is. They think it's very similar to the other funds in there. So you have to become a fund manager to be able to save for your retirement, Kevin.
You do. I mean, a lot of our first appointment, or maybe even second appointment, is just educating folks. Because we get people into our office that are 65, looking to retire in 2 years, and we look at their 401k and they say, "Do you know what you're invested in?" "Oh no, I don't know what I'm invested in." I said that 20 years ago.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you haven't sat with someone, or no one from your employment office can help you. Your HR office can help you with that. Oh no, they don't do that.
Yeah, normally the 401k provider, they can tell you how to reset your password.
Right.
Or they often have online calculators where you can dial in what percentage you want of which fund. But they're not there to tell you how much risk to take or how safe to be with it or which funds to choose. That's totally on our viewing public. So folks out there, your retirement, it is totally different than it was for your parents, and most especially your grandparents. Longevity, the Social Security, and the lack of offerings and pension plans makes it so much harder. Your retirement is on your own. But with the team here at First Choice Financial, you don't have to be completely alone. You can call the phone number right now. We'll set up an appointment for you. We'll do your portfolio review. Yes, we'll look at your active 401ks right now to see what your selections are, to see if you're on target, not target date, to see if you're on target for your retirement savings. Don't go anywhere. More differences in today's modern retiree and modern retirement planning when we get back right after this.
When we tell someone something, they'll say, we can take that to the bank. If we can't do something, we'll tell them that. We're straight up with our clients. It all comes down to using the products for the people's needs, not selling product.
Being independent means that we have freedom to do what's best for our clients. We're not beholden to any other party to make sure that we're meeting a quota or restricted on what it is that we can do or provide. We're free to go out into the market and find what's best for them and what's going to meet their needs.
The world's our oyster, as far as what resources we have for our clients, and that's beneficial for our clients more than anything.
Don't be afraid to go ask for help. Find somebody you can trust and start the process. Obviously, the financial part is very important. Having a plan in place that's going to provide you with sustainable income, that's resilient to the changes of life and of the market, that's really important.
Money doesn't care who it serves. And one of the things that we like to do in our company is we like to be able to help people determine where their money is going to be and who it's going to serve generation after generation.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk with Kevin and Joe Dietrich, both brothers here. Since it's today's modern retirement and it's not your modern kind of retirement like your parents. I guess that's why Al's not here. Did you tell?
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
had to do a show without him and say it's not your parents' retirement.
Wrong generation. We've got it. We've got it.
Oh no, but he's been doing this since the late
absolutely.
1970s. We love to have him in the office, but I'm glad you guys are on the desk today. But I got to tell you, on our commercial break there, we're both laughing. A lot of meat left on this bone.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that the target date funds, you had a specific question about them. What was that, Joe?
Yeah. What's the target, right? So we got a target date fund, we've got a retirement date, but is that really the target? The target is going to be, what is your lifestyle in retirement? What is your goals? What is your objectives? We talk a lot about starting to dream again, and so that's the target we should be working at, not a specific date or a specific fund.
But a lot of times they don't even ask you what the target date is. They just assume you're going to retire at a certain age, or 65 probably.
Yep.
So that's when you start Medicare.
Right.
And then it does tell you when you go into your 401k, you're at this particular percentage away from your target to be able to retire with X amount of dollars. So just increase your giving, just increase your contribution. But like you said on the break, that a lot of times when you do a default, they default you to 3%, and then they match 3%, and then they default you to a target date fund. They have no say in it.
Yeah.
And then it sticks that way for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I think the assumption is, while I'm auto-enrolled, they've already pre-selected how much I should be saving or contributing to this, and when I'm getting matched. And so, well, if I'm already pre-enrolled, then that should be sufficient.
Right.
Yeah.
It was actually, it was a law, and again, this is when government sometimes comes in, thinks that they're helping us out. By doing the auto-enrollment and trying to help Americans make sure they're saving enough, too many people think, well, it's just set, or my employer auto-enrolled me, so they must know the amount that I need.
right. Yeah.
No, that's a minimum.
Yeah.
That's a bare minimum of what we need to be saving.
Yep.
Now, another thing about these target date funds, I love what you said there. What is the target? It's not just a date, but then how exactly is it functioning? Supposedly, it's supposed to be removing risk or reducing risk as you get closer to retirement. But somehow that didn't work out well in 2021 and 2022 because of interest rates. What happened there, fellas?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the basic premise is that we got equities and we've got bonds or fixed income. And so we're going to increase the bonds or fixed income as we get closer to our target dates. Well, that's kind of a false assumption that we have maybe some inverse relationships or some differing returns and risk factors there. But in 2022, as you referenced, the S&P went down 18%. Not so good. Well, the aggregate bond market, that went down 13%. So that assumption that, well, if I'm increasing my bond portfolio as I get closer to retirement, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And safe is kind of a relative term.
Yeah, determining what that safe is. And so we realize out there that trying to be your own fund manager can be complicated. A lot of your retirement onus has been put onto your own shoulders. Just know that you don't have to do this stuff by yourself. You can work with an independent group, have them take a look at your 401k. There's no cost to that. It's simply doing a review, but it's incredibly important to us. Last night we were able to enjoy a dinner together as we were kind of doing our pre-show notes for our broadcast day. And you're both so family-oriented, even with Dad not on the desk today, very family-oriented. And that's just it. We talk about money, but we want to make sure that you're going to be okay, that the viewer is going to be okay. It's just a conversation, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a
that's our
conversation.
heart.
It's just a tool. Money is just a tool in order to provide the lifestyle that you're looking for. And we're talking to a person when we meet with somebody. We're not working on numbers. The numbers is just how we get there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, let's go back to a little bit on people. Because another thing you said is on people's minds is, especially if in their 50s, and I think we get this from one of those other TV and online gurus, but the word debt, how does that come up in meetings with folks?
Yeah, particularly those folks that are coming in pre-retirement. We see that quite a bit where, life maybe had some ups and downs and we've got some lingering debt. That might come in several different forms. It may be a mortgage that we haven't quite gotten paid off yet. It might be credit card, car loans, all of these kind of things, but they add a little bit of pressure there, and that's kind of outside of maybe some of the boxes that people typically think of, but it's something that we talk about quite a bit because we're preparing, again, for a lifestyle, not just for a retirement date.
Right.
Yeah, we get emails all the time, actually, that, it's just from a random person. Hey, I have this much mortgage, I have this much in my IRA. Should I just take the money out of my IRA and pay off my mortgage? I'm 65, I'm going to retire in 2 years. Well, that's not a lot to go on, right?
Yeah.
So let's sit down and talk about that. Is that beneficial? Because if your mortgage rate's 2.5%, and you're able to earn 5-6% in your investments, why do that? And then you have to take money out of your IRA and pay 10 or 12 or 15% tax on that. That might not be the right
Boom.
decision.
That's, I mean, huge light bulb there.
Yeah.
But that, where I think the American public gets that is I see that on Yahoo all the time. You go to the Yahoo Finance, you go to online, and it's simple. They're like, I have X amount saved. I'm 2 years from paying off the house. Should I take this out? Because I've heard I need to be debt-free in retirement. There's somebody who says that all of the time.
Yeah.
But there's the good debt and bad debt, right? The bad debt, those credit cards, those high interest rates, and maybe unaffordable automobiles and so forth. But like you said, if you're crunching the numbers, but you'd also like to know more about people.
We have to know more of their situation.
It's an individual situation. We can't just say, sure, we would all love to be debt-free, right? But we need to make smart decisions based upon what those numbers are going to give us and put a plan together. And that's all part of our plan.
And those are the questions we ask. What's your interest rate for your mortgage? What's your credit card debt look like? What's your, where's your money invested? What type of returns are you averaging? Those are all questions that are very, very important to make that one decision.
Right.
All of those numbers lead into a cash flow that we can look at with real numbers, and you can make real decisions.
All right. Now, today's cash flow has also got to be a little bit different. And when your father founded the firm and started, we also talked about this. Say, how long back then, let's say early 1981, 82, how long did you take out cash flow for plans to be able to last? And it was, probably mid-80s, even 90s. But today, you and your father, how long do you like your cash flow to last for today's modern retiree?
Well, it's completely different back then. Pension, Social Security, those are the hallmarks of a retirement that they had back then, and we don't have that now. So we need to generate that with our 401k and our other assets. So we're looking at cash flows. We're planning out to 90, 95. We can push it to 99, 100, whatever it may be. We want to obviously overplan. We don't want to run out of money. But there's also kind of the inverse. We don't want to die with all of the money and not lived either. So there is a balance there that we have to strike. And it's about on what that individual person is wanting those next 20, 30 years to be.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point that Joe mentioned. That, our first interview, we talk about dreaming. What do you want? Because here's what we found. You get married, you're dreaming, right? You start having kids, you get a mortgage, you get debt, you're working, and the dreams sort of just put off the side.
Yeah.
But then you hit retirement, you're like, now what, right? And you stop dreaming. So we get you to start dreaming again. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
What's on your bucket list? You know?
And that's just it. The modern retiree, it's not about sitting on the porch and sipping lemonade.
No.
It's not game over.
Nope.
You've got 25, 30, maybe 35 years of what you get to do. So, and that includes, and as you both know, you can do more things with your faith, your church, your community. You can give to education. Maybe you could do part-time, if you want to call it work, or maybe just something that's a hobby that you do, but you can give back. But it's talking about building that lifestyle. Is that exciting when folks start to actually get those dreams back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They
It's
start
exciting
dreaming.
when we start meeting with them a year or two down the road and we see them living out those lifestyles.
I just had a couple come back from a 2-week vacation in Alaska.
Oh, fantastic.
It was a dream vacation. And she was just going on and on and on and on about this Alaskan vacation. But they never would have been able to plan that or even do that without having that first appointment with us and start dreaming again.
All right, folks, make sure that you've got your dreams back in line. Let's get these back into our lives. You can think about what you want to do in retirement, but it does start with an income plan, a spend plan. We don't like to call it a budget. A budget sounds like a diet. Nobody wants to be on a diet. What is your spending plan for retirement? What can you do? If you don't know what that looks like, if you're sitting there holding on to your life savings, worried that it's going to run out, let's help you build a spending plan. It starts with a conversation. It starts with a phone call. Dial this phone number you see down here on the bottom of the screen. Set up your first appointment. There's no cost. It's free to sit down with the team here of First Choice Financial Services. This is what they do every single day in the offices. Take advantage of it right now. Call that phone number. We have a very short break, and we'll be right back.
First Choice Financial Services, we're based out of Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. So if you're familiar with Harrisburg, there's a river that splits the mid-state in half. And on the right side is the Harrisburg City, and on the left side is what we call the West Shore. We're based in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, which is just across the river from Harrisburg.
Everybody that works in our firm just has a heart for other people. My 2 sons are partners in the corporation. Their wives are very active in the corporation. The rest of the people in the corporation are, all but 2, are family.
I wouldn't want a practice that's not family-based or faith-based. If you're a believer, you're a Christian, then you have to live that. It's your life. It's who you are. It's your identity. My identity is in Christ and Christ alone, and I'm not going to waver from that. And why not have that spill over into my business, my practice? It's all over our walls, all over our TV screens, and they can see our heart, and they know, hey, we take care of them, and we love them as individuals, and we care for them and their soul.
When we sat down with somebody and we've taken time to get to know them and put something into place that's going to really meet their needs, to see the look of relief or the posture change when they walk out of the office feeling confident and a little less worried of the years to come.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk with the brothers Kevin and Joe Dietrich. Al is on assignment today, working with clients and enjoying the family and enjoying his weekend as well. But we're so glad to be doing all of these programs. We're hoping that you're getting the education that you need. And please, even when you call that phone number, you can let us know another topic you'd like us to do for you. We'd be glad to discuss it on the TV for you or even at one of our live events. But I love it. It's one of my favorite things of the show. Folks who you've been helping recently. Kevin, who is somebody who you've seen come across your desk?
Well, yeah, Mary came in to our office, and she's 60. She wanted to retire 65, and no pension, just her 401k. So we were able to move some money out of her 401k and create what we call a private pension. It's like a private pension. So it basically starts an income stream. At 65, when she retires, she'll turn on her Social Security at the same time, and her income needs are met.
Okay.
That's a simple, easy to do, or what we can do on our own and be able to do that for the client. But it takes planning. It takes coming in, doing the work, giving us the information we need, getting to know you, start dreaming again, and just it takes all of that to be able to put that income plan together.
Yeah. Now at 60, though, if you don't mind some follow-ups on that,
Yeah.
I started to think, okay, does she have health care choices? Because Medicare doesn't start until 65, and that would be a big spend out of pocket.
Yeah, so she's going to retire at 65.
Okay, all
so
right.
she's going to work for another 5 more years,
Gotcha.
and then retire at 65, start her Social Security, start this pension that we set up for her. Like a pension, is a guaranteed income stream. That's what it is. And then her Medicare
Ballpark,
will
what
kick in.
kind of industry is she in?
She's a warehouse worker.
Okay, all right.
She works for one of those big companies that makes stuff.
That makes stuff. Good. That's that way we're in the clear on this.
You mentioned the healthcare, and that definitely comes up. There's we got staggered retirement dates, husband and wife. We met with a couple recently, and he's retired this year. She's going to retire maybe a little bit later. There's going to be a year where we don't have that. Well, we deal with all elements of the retirement planning process, including that health insurance, and there's times we need to go out to the public market and fill that gap.
Yep.
That all gets covered under our planning process.
That's right.
Right. And you were able to talk to her and say, hey, I'm glad that you're thinking about Social Security for later, because there's a lot of Americans today who are saying they want to take their Social Security earlier. We've discussed it a couple of different times. They're afraid it's going to go away, but she's patient with it.
Yeah, she thought she was going to have to work till she was 70.
Really?
And then we dug in deep and got some information from her and put a plan together. We do a lot of planning on our own for these clients, and it takes a lot of effort on our part, and we handle that like it's our own mother's retirement or our own grandmother's retirement. That's how special it is to us. And so we put together an income plan, and I let her know you can retire 65 like you want to, and here's how much money you have from the income stream and the Social Security.
And you're able to.
And she started crying.
Oh wow! And you're able to show her that income flow and go,
exactly.
This is what you can.
It's the cash flow.
And this is what you can spend.
Yep.
This is what you get to spend.
Here's your discretionary income. Here's your debt, and here's what you have. Here's your money for what you need, money for what you want.
Did you shed a tear with her?
Of course I did.
Of course you did. That's the great stuff.
It's
That's what makes
emotional
it worthwhile.
sometimes. You just got to. We got tissues in all of our offices.
Yeah. Well, we say
They're
this a
mainly for
lot.
me,
Personal finance, it's more personal than it is finance. You're like,
That's right.
look, we'll help you figure out the numbers. It's mathematical equations. What is your rate of return? What is your taxes? How long might we live? What is your current lifestyle? But you need to figure out some of those things. I do want to ask a little bit more, though. What kind of tool did you use to create this, as you said, like a private pension? So pension money is money that you'll never run out of. As long as you're alive, you keep getting
Yeah.
paid on it.
So there's guaranteed money. You get, Social Security is guaranteed money, right?
Okay, theoretically, we're not getting into that, but
That's
sure.
right. That's
yeah, I mean,
another
that's
show,
the idea.
right?
That's
another
whole
show.
other show.
Social Security is 99% guaranteed money. Let's just put it that way. And then if you had a pension from an employer, that's guaranteed money. Guaranteed money means it will last you till you die.
Right.
Right. Even if the well runs dry, it'll last you till you dry. Well, we can also use annuities for the same type of thing. Because when you get a pension from the state or from your employer, that's all it is.
That's what it is.
It's an annuity.
The large companies are basically putting it into an annuity contract. And you're saying on the smaller version,
Yeah.
you've saved. Today's modern retiree has their own money.
Yep.
Now let's create your own private.
So the pension
plan.
companies use deferred annuities. You put money in, as you're putting money in, throughout every year, it's deferring the payment to a certain time. We can do the same thing.
Right.
We're deferring that payment for her for 5 years.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that now. At 60, so my brain is thinking if she's got money in a 401k or something she saved, how are you accessing that money? Was this what's known as the in-service withdrawal? Were you taking a little bit from there?
Yep.
And we only have a minute, but maybe you could
It was
explain.
a portion.
A portion
It wasn't the whole thing.
Okay.
It was a portion that was an in-service rollover
Okay.
that went from her 401k into the annuity, and and the annuity is guaranteed. So if the annuity runs dry, let's say it's $50,000 annuity, she lives to 20 years, that's going to run dry, right?
Yeah.
But it'll continue paying her out just like her pension would if she was with an employer.
So creating that income plan, so then you're adding in the Social Security, you've got that, and then she'll still have the assets for growth
Absolutely.
for longer down the road.
Yeah, every investment has characteristics that are meant to do something, solve a problem, and this is just one of those tools in our toolbox to be able to put together and create the income plan, create the retirement that you're looking for. Just because it's not your parents' or grandparents' not retirement doesn't mean that you can't have a similar retirement. So give us a call and let us help you with putting something like that together.
I think we'll go ahead and have Al back on next week. I mean, it's not your parents' retirement, but we are all learning these modernized tools, how to make sure that we've got an income flow that we can't run out of. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll do that portfolio review for everyone. Call that phone number right now on the bottom of the screen. There are people standing by who will take that call for you. Today's modern retiree doesn't have to do this all by themselves. The investments inside your 401ks, have somebody help you look at that. All of the things that have to do with your taxes, the estate planning, how do you create an income flow? Let the team here at First Choice Financial help you figure that all out. Call the phone number. You'll get your appointment. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.